5-4 is your final. The Guardians will not go away quietly. They now go back to Cleveland for tonight. And so the Dodgers-Padres, Guardians-Tigers series go to Game 5s. And listen, the postseason's been amazing. What the Yankees did to the Royals, basically, one of the reasons why you pay a Garrett Cole that much money is to pitch a game like he pitched last night. And Garrett Cole was fantastic. He was a little bit better than Michael Wacha, who I thought, listen, I don't know what they're doing to these guns, but Michael Wacha in his prime didn't throw 95 miles an hour. They're clocking every fastball at 95, 96 of Michael Wacha, so leads me to believe, they're a little bit high on how fast they're pitching. And this guy's like 40 years old, by the way. Garrett Cole, 7 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned, no walks, which I find amazing that this guy's control is that good in a big game like that where he's probably tired, banged up, not feeling well. Holmes comes in for the 8th. Weaver finishes it out in the 9th and put the Kansas City Royals season to bed. They finished with a great year, but really it was the lack of hitting. They did a great job on Bobby Witt Jr. I think he had 2 hits in the series. Pasquantino, he hit 130. I think he had 1 hit in the series. Salvador Perez hit a little bit over 200, but nobody really hit well. The only guy who actually hit well in the entire series was Giancarlo Stanton. Giancarlo had another 2 hits last night, 2 for 3, drove in a run. He ended up hitting 375 and being mostly the guy that did all the damage. Judge hit 154. Soto, he hit pretty well at 286. Wells, who protected Judge, didn't do a great job. He hit a $125. I think he had 1 hit in the series. But it was one of the most well-pitched series you could imagine between the Royals and the Yankees take it and they go to the ALCS.
Yeah, much to Kurt's chagrin, as he said, as a Red Sox fan. That's why he was saying that. But the Yankees were, planned on being here, and this is where they are, and we'll see who they will play. A lot of us are rooting for the Guardians because we think that that's going to be a hell of a matchup between those two, but maybe even the Tigers would be as well. Just so many baby Tigers that are getting their feet wet in this league.
12 rookies.
12
There's
rookies.
12 rookies on this team that is fighting to get to the ALCS. They were, I can't even remember how bad their record was at one point, but it was so bad in August, I think it was around August 10th maybe, that they ended up finishing like 31-11 to close out the season, which is phenomenal. And like I said, 12 rookies helped them do that. And Skubal, who is one of the best pitchers in the American League all year long, is going to have to toe the rubber tonight. And don't get ahead of yourself. Here's the thing. I heard their announcers during the game, and they had the Detroit announcers that were calling the game. And they kept talking about, if we win, right here in front of the Comerica fans, Skubal will start game 1 of the ALCS. You never want to have that thought process. Yeah. Never. Especially against the Guardians, who are starting to hit their stride now. Naylor, Fry, Jose Ramirez with the first home run and the first run of the game. These guys are old and veteran guys. They're grizzled. And so they grind out at bats. They had 11 hits, 5 runs last night, and that's the kind of stuff that a team with a low payroll, lower than the Tigers, was able to dominate them last night and send this to a Game 5.
Yeah, we'll see what happens on Saturday afternoon because this game time's been moved up 7 hours. They're already predicting bad weather in Cleveland. So Game 5 will be at 1 o'clock. A lot of people are expecting that to be a prime time, 8 o'clock. Major League Baseball.
I thought they were going to have a doubleheader. So, yeah, you're right. The game is Saturday. Padres-Dodgers is the lone game tonight.
And the Padres-Dodgers. You were saying this when you came in the studio. The worst thing is giving the Cleveland Guardians new life, giving the Los Angeles Dodgers new life on both of these teams, and going to the Game 5 is not going to work in their favor just because of the momentum.
Well, they're division rivals just like the Guardians and Tigers. And here's the thing. There's so many, like you said, there's so many baby Cub Tigers that, these guys, they don't know how hated they are in Cleveland. That might be an advantage.
That's a good point.
The Padre veteran players know how much they hate you just right by the first 2 games you played in L.A. The stuff Machado did with the ball in the dugout and celebrating the way he does, Tatis and his celebrations, they're talking about Profar. But the bottom line is you got to play, you got to execute here. And your pitchers have to be able to go 5-6 innings. And the fact that, like, the Yankees got 7 out of Cole, and that bullpen had been doing most of your saving of this series, it put them in a good position to where, okay, who feels the best right now? Weaver, obviously, he's a very young guy, great arm. Clay Holmes, he comes in the 7th. He had been coming in the 5th and 6th innings for the Yankees in this series. So, when you're able to juggle your best pitchers, and now they await an opponent, they can get healthy, rest a little bit, and probably turn right around and, probably have Garrett Cole ready for Game 2, which would mean he could probably pitch Game 5 and maybe pitch a few innings in Game 7 if it goes that far.
Just watching them last night, the one thing you talk about a lot is getting up in the count. I think I was reading the box score, the closers or the relievers, Holmes and Weaver, 6 for 6 first pitch strikes on their at-bats. Garrett Cole, 17 for 26 first pitch strikes on the at-bats
Very important, because I'll give you the numbers. If you get a first pitch strike in there, and this is big league numbers, 7 out of 10 times you're going to get an out. If you get the count to 0-2 at the major league level, 9 out of 10 times with the way they're swinging, 9 out of 10 times, it's a strikeout. It's not even a ball put in play. It's a strikeout. Right. So it's very important to throw strikes. And so some of these guys that are nibblers, yes, the first and second time through the lineup, you might get through. Third time, now guys are probably trying to go the other way, and you're not going to be as effective. And when you're trying to do it with mostly relievers, that makes it even more difficult. And you know what? The thing was the Guardians relievers didn't do much better than the Tigers relievers. So that game was decided in the bullpen, and obviously the Tigers failed to get that victory.
One thing I was noticing in the Yankees-Royals series, and because of gambling, I bet on those anytime home runs that never come around, and especially that Game 3 and Game 4. And it's like, man, that ballpark is so big. And just looking at the Kansas City's last weeks of their season.
Not an easy. Well, Coffin was built back in the 80s with one of the fastest outfields. Remember, both St. Louis teams had fast outfielders. I had to play against the Cardinals.
Taught me this.
But you had some of the fastest. You had Lonnie Smith. You had Willie Wilson. Van Slyke was there for a time. You had some of the fastest outfielders on those two teams, Kansas City and St. Louis. They built giant ballparks because they wanted slashers. They wanted guys that could slash and dash, steal a lot of bases, patrol the outfield and take away, hits and runs. So those ballparks were built for speed, not for power, and that's why there wasn't a lot of home runs hit there.
And I think that's why Kansas City's going to have a lot of success in the future with the rules and just how you can steal bases and with those big ballparks. And even the size of the bases matter in doubles and triples. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that with this group that they're building. The roster that they're building is a lot like what you were talking about back in the 80s. And looking at their games, they didn't blow out Baltimore.
No.
Their offense was sputtering the whole entire time.
They played a lot of fast, small ball type stuff.
Right.
They hit and run really well. They hit to the gaps really well. Occasionally, Salvador Perez or somebody, even Witt, who didn't really hit well, and he has not hit well the whole postseason. But listen, Judge didn't either, because I'm not going to let those guys beat me if I'm a pitcher. It's going to come down to Old Man Stanton. Or
came
somebody
through.
else.
Yeah.
Jose Ramirez doing what he does all the time for the Guardians, but it was Fry. It was someone else. And then how about Fry? Quan.
Yeah.
But how about Fry hits the go-ahead home run, which makes it a 4-2 game, I think. And then Fry comes back up later in the game and does it's called a safety squeeze. They didn't have the play on. He safely bunts it up the first baseline. It's a close play at the plate. It's a great slide, but he makes it, I think, it was a 4-3 game, then it was a 5-3 game. So, but the bottom line is, that's the versatility of some of these players. If you can hit home runs and you can bunt, you can handle the bat, you're going to win a lot of ball games that way. And that's the way the Guardians have to play. Tigers too, Kansas City, Yankees mostly sit around and wait for big balls, but Jazz Chisholm had one hit, it was a home run. But Jazz Chisholm, when he came over from the Marlins, great team speed added to the team because they had terrible team speed. He could steal some bases. He can run the bases. So those are some of the things that, when you get to the postseason and you need a stolen base, look for that in the ALCS, NLCS. That's going to be defining moments from the 7th inning on, trying to get a guy over to second and get him in to win these ball games. Because I see a lot of this being close stuff. All of those Royals games with the Yankees were close. All the games so far with the Guardians and the Tigers have been very close. Padres, Dodgers have been very close. It comes down to clutch hits and being able to run first to third really well, do fundamental stuff, which is funny because analytics doesn't love fundamentals. Analytics loves other stuff. And so now when it comes down to you actually winning games, you have to play some baseball.
I loved what Dave Roberts said. I think it was game 3 that they lost, that they were giving away outs, meaning they had outs. Right. Maybe they weren't errors, maybe they were, but when you give playoff teams, especially right now where we're at, second chances at the plate, they're going to burn you. Awesome game tonight. The playoff team we haven't talked about is the New York Mets, who are waiting in the wings to see who wins this thing tonight. That's their opponent. Padres, Dodgers. Oh, I love you. Yu Darvish versus Yoshito Yamamoto. Am I messing his name?
No,
Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I mess his first name up all the time.
Yoshinobu, yeah.
Yamamoto back on the mound
Just
tonight.
Call him Yo Yamamoto.
I'll tell you what, this is a big spot for Yamamoto. The biggest spot he's ever been in as a major league player.
Versus you.
This is going to be versus you.
Versus you.
Big game in Dodgerland, which will be extra special because we were talking too before the show started how extra special these Dodger fans are going to give it to San Diego, and there's going to be plenty of San Diego faithful that make the trip and going to be sitting in those bleachers as well. It'll be a volatile situation in the stands, I predict, tonight in LA.
Here's the thing with Yamamoto. He's got a lucky rabbit's foot in his back pocket. Since he came back, and he came back September 10th. 4 innings versus the Cubs. He did lose that game, but he only didn't give up any earned runs, 1 unearned run.
Right.
4 innings, 3 hits. Then his next outing was against the Braves, 4 innings, 4 hits, no runs. And they won that game. Colorado, 3 innings, 5 hits, 4 earned runs. Dodgers still win 6-5 because their bullpen's fantastic. Colorado, another one. At Colorado this time, 5 innings, 4 hits, couple of earned runs, no walks, though, 6 strikeouts. Dodgers blow them out 13-2. So San Diego, 3 innings, 5 earned runs. Dodgers come back and win 7-5. 4 of his 5 starts since he came off the IL, Dodgers have won them. They love this guy. They score this guy runs even when he gives up a lot of runs. They did pay this guy $350 million.
If you talk like this about Cole, you got to talk like this about Yamamoto.
I'm saying the same thing. So this is if they can get 5. I'm not saying this guy's even going to go 6. He still might be on a pitch count. Who the hell knows? If they could get 5 with that bullpen in a winner-take-all situation, that would be gravy. If the Dodgers are either up or down a run or even in the lead by a couple, that would be fantastic for the Dodgers.
And they're throwing out so many people from this bullpen. Like, it's a who's who right now for the Dodgers. I keep on wondering, where did this guy come from? Like, how long has he been pitching on this team? They've had to mix and match ever since the season started. Their lineup is spectacular. We all know that.
Right. But it's banged up with Freddie Freeman.
Right.
You've had other injuries. Right. But the bullpen has been fantastic. Whether it's Austin Barnes or, Evan Phillips, Kopech throws 100. The kid with the that went to the Red Sox, went to the White Sox, now he's with the Dodgers. Brazier started the game the other night.
But this Alcs Vesla, this Anthony Banda, like these guys are literally Band-Aids.
Vesia is a kid that throws hard left-handed that again, when you used to see lefties come in games, they threw a lot of curveballs, a lot of change-ups, stuff. This guy can do everything. He's got 3-4 pitches. So he can go 3 innings because he can go through the lineup. Banda's another guy. I mean, they've got a lot of plug-in type closer, right? Plug-in and play closer guys they could bring in from the 5th inning on, and they have to. Their starters have been so banged up. Buehler didn't pitch well his last outing. Flaherty's not the greatest guy. Glasnow's done for the season. Yamamoto, like I said, has been pitching 4 or 5 innings. You're only getting through the lineup maybe 1.5 times. Now we're right into the bullpen. So I give Dave Roberts credit because they talk about managing is really managing the last 9 outs of a game, and that's from my time. I think it's now managing the last 12 to 15 outs, especially in the postseason, because you don't trust the starters any longer.
Right.
Nobody trusts starters anymore. So the analytics guys, and we could go back to Blake Snell with the Rays, where they didn't trust him to go through the lineup 3 times. They just because your batting average goes up maybe from, let's say, 200 to 240, which is still spectacular pitching wise. They'll be like, oh no, we can't let that guy go. They're hitting a little bit higher the 3rd time through. That's normal. Most of these guys, they've seen you now the third time. They make the proper adjustments. They're major leaguers. So I think there's a lot of panic in some of these moves. Let's see who blinks first in this game tonight, Mike Schilt or Dave Roberts.
8:08 is first pitch. Padres at the Dodgers tonight, Game 5 for the NLDS. Winner takes on the Mets in the NLCS. 49ers Seahawks had a football game last night, Thursday Night Football. High-scoring affair in Thursday Night Football. 36-24, the 49ers win. Did not go great for Geno Smith's birthday party, but he wasn't horrible. He still throws over 300 yards. Did have 2 picks, but I wanted to say those picks were his fault. The biggest story in this is Debo is back, Kittle is back. And when those 2 cats in particular are on the field, I don't want to take anything away from Ayuk or Jennings or even CMC. Like, when he gets back, he's going to be great as well. But just those 2 are such big mismatches all across the board for anyone in the NFL. Brock Purdy looked his Brock Purdy self and didn't have to do too much. Just get the ball in the place where only his playmakers can make them, and then they'll do the rest.
He threw the ball half as much, as Geno Smith. Yeah. Listen, I love Geno. He's having a great year. I love his pinpoint control. 52 passes, way too many. Running game, almost non-existent.
And they got good running backs.
How about the rushing over 200 yards for the 49ers? Yeah. I mean, where did that come from?
Trent Williams controlling the line of scrimmage. Trent Williams is just a beast, and another reason why their passing game is so good as well.
So then you see a guy like Isaac, Garendo? That guy could run for 100 yards. So, when that guy carries the ball 10 times for 100 yards, there's some big holes.
McCaffrey is always successful no matter what offensive line he has. But this other cat, Jordan Mason, they just put in, he's been like a Pro Bowl player. And then they bring a guy in because Mason was a little banged up, right? And so doesn't really matter when you have a Pro Bowl front, when you got the best lineman in the biz for the last decade and Trent Williams playing your left tackle spot. Like, everybody else follows suit. That's why Brock Purdy has such a successful time, is because he knows that he is not going to be panicked and rushed like other quarterbacks in this league. I always say this, man. Start up front with the front 5. That's where your offenses are truly built.
All right, so
San Francisco's
when
doing
I was
that.
watching, DK Metcalf was kind of in an argument with the offensive coordinator, and I didn't see a lot of the game because I was watching the Lynx, and I was also watching a lot of baseball, but 11 targets, 3 receptions. Were they bad thrown balls?
No, there's a couple of balls. Like, he had a touchdown taken away from him. He had a tiptoe in the back corner of an end zone on one. That was a touchdown they wish they would have had because they had a great drive going all the way through, had to settle for a field goal in that play. DK, I think, is getting shacked. Meaning these officials let a lot go.
They're holding him. They're trying to hold one arm.
Yeah, that's how I'd play him. I mean, you have to cheat when you go up against this freak of nature because he outsizes everybody. He can jump higher and run faster than everybody on the field. Plus, he's bigger than. It's like he is a freak of nature playing wide receiver. And a lot of these officials let a lot of stuff go that will get called on someone like, I don't know, Dante Smith, the Slim Reaper, because he can be pushed around every place, and it's kind of evident. When you forearm DK Metcalf, he doesn't go anywhere.
No.
But
Dude,
that's
like
still pass interference.
235, I would say he's probably 240, 250.
And any receiver that's going their offensive coordinator isn't necessarily right about what he's saying.
Right.
He is just frustrated that he is not getting the ball.
And I didn't mean it like to. Football is a really high-stress sport.
Yes.
And anybody who doesn't understand that doesn't understand the sport. So when you're going at your OC, you're going at your head coach, it might seem like it's an argument. It's not. It's more, hey, there's some urgency, desperation maybe a little bit that I'm trying to do better. I'm missing some things. So it's kind of twofold for DK Metcalf. I think it was overblown when they're like, oh, my God, he's screaming. No, he's not screaming at him. These people work together every day, whether it's constructive criticism of something that went wrong. It's in the moment of basically a 60-minute fight. And, it's like a turf war, man. People are like way over the top with, oh, my God, they were yelling at each other. No, they're not. They're just trying to win a football game.
And this is where they lost the football game in Seattle. They settled for field goals instead of touchdowns in several spots, especially that second quarter field goal. And they had turnovers in the red zone. They were moving the football all night. Their offense was not the problem. Their defense, I mean, they were stacked against an all-star team last night in San Francisco.
You couldn't stop the
good
run.
Luck. Can't stop the run. You are correct. It's going to be a long night for that D. But that offense, if they turned those 2 turnovers that they had in the red zone into touchdowns, that touchdown instead of a field goal, they win that football game.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Do Who You Got next?
Yeah, because we've got a special guest at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Josh Miller, Hartford Marathon is Saturday. For all you runners out there, we will school you on what's coming up. Also, Donnie's Dash, our friend Donnie Marshall, that's right around the corner. Got to talk about that. But Kurt wants to know where the course is because he hates driving in Hartford on Saturday.
When there's marathons.
Oh, man, it is a beast. It definitely is a beast. So we got to get that information at 4 o'clock. So we got to push Who You Got a little bit earlier today. Oh, the 3 o'clock folks get to hear.
You can get to the sports book earlier.
There you go.
There you go.
There you
Good
go.
thinking,
So
Kurt.
we'll give you the misinformation. You can go out and act accordingly, and hopefully we can win you some money.
Right.
Next on Who You Got on the Rob Dibble Show. Ben Darnell, happy Friday, everybody. Get ready for some weekend football and baseball and even some WNBA championship action going on. Kurt Kaplan on the 1s and 2s, and John Ashmead is on our YouTube channel.